In the past few videos, I covered the nutrient profile of ultra-processed foods, the industrial contaminants, the additives, both intentional and unintentional, as well as changes in texture. But what's this about food matrix? In the famous study that found that ultra-processed diets caused excess calorie intake and weight gain compared to unprocessed diets, despite the fact that both diets were matched for calories, sugar, fat, and fiber, suggested that it may be something about the processing itself, such as the concentration of calories and the changes in texture that allow the foods to be eaten so much faster. But wait, how did the researchers match for fiber? It's hard to imagine ultra-processed foods having much fiber. Here are two representative dinners. On the ultra-processed side, non-fat yogurt, fruit in heavy syrup, baked potato chips, a deli meat and cheese sandwich, and 3 cups of diet lemonade. And the same number of calories, fat, and sugar on the unprocessed side, a southwestern entree salad with greens, beans, nuts, fruits, and vegetables. How could the ultra-processed meal possibly have the same amount of fiber? What they did was sprinkle a fiber supplement into the yogurt and lemonade. So technically both meals had the same amount of fiber, but that's not how fiber works. A half-century ago, the dietary fiber hypothesis was proposed, suggesting that fiber was the reason that diets centered around whole plant foods were so protective against chronic disease. Predictably, this gave rise to a multi-billion-dollar fiber supplement market. People could just eat real food, but where's the money in that? Of course, it's hard to trust projections from internet press releases. I highly doubt the fiber market is going to hit 20,000 million billion. Those who get more fiber in their diet are significantly less likely to get heart disease, strokes, and diabetes, and less likely to die from cancer, and all causes put together. But that's with fiber from food. In terms of fiber intake for optimal health, the first line of defense for disease prevention is to focus on fiber from foods rather than supplements. For the treatment of disease, there's a lack of evidence-based research to support the use of most isolated fiber types. You can't just take your magic bullet of Metamucil with your Wonder Bread. That's not how fiber works. Dietary fiber alone has certain benefits, but its primary role may be the physical encapsulation of nutrients inside the cell wall for special delivery to our gut microbiome. Fiber makes up the cell walls of plants, which act as an indigestible physical barrier, so when we eat structurally intact plant foods, many of the nutrients remained trapped. Chew all you want, you're still going to end up with nutrients completely surrounded by fiber, which then blunts the glycemic response, activates a natural satiety mechanism called the ileal brake, and delivers sustenance to your friendly flora. That's what nature intended to happen. That may be why apples are more satiating than apple juice, even when the juice is enriched with an identical amount of added fiber. Structure matters. You can't just sprinkle on the fiber. Fiber is part of the matrix. The word matrix comes from the Latin matricis, derived from mater, meaning mother. We should strive to preserve the matrix, the blue pill, Neo, by choosing more unprocessed plant foods. Even with identical chemistry, food structure may result in major differences in health outcomes. Corn chips and corn flakes cause a higher blood sugar spike than does corn on the cob. Even with identical ingredients, food structure can make a difference. For example, rolled oats have a significantly lower glycemic index than unsweetened instant oatmeal, which is also just straight oats, but in thinner flakes. And oat flakes have a lower glycemic index than oat powder. The same single ingredient, oats, but in different forms, can have different effects. Why do we care? Because the overly rapid absorption of carbohydrates after eating a high glycemic index meal can trigger a sequence of hormonal and metabolic changes that promote excessive eating. In a study out of Harvard's Children's Hospital, a dozen obese teen boys were fed instant oatmeal versus steel-cut oatmeal. After the instant oatmeal, the teens went on to eat 53% more than after eating the steel-cut oatmeal. The instant oatmeal group started snacking within an hour after their meal and went on to accumulate significantly more calories throughout the rest of the day. Plain steel-cut oatmeal is considered a low glycemic index food, averaging under 55, whereas the instant oatmeal is a high glycemic food, averaging over 70. but isn't as bad as some breakfast cereals, which could get even higher. This is even true of zero-sugar cereals, like shredded wheat. The new industrial methods used to create breakfast cereals, such as extrusion cooking and explosion puffing, accelerate starch digestion and absorption, causing an exaggerated blood sugar response. Shredded wheat has the same ingredients as spaghetti, straight wheat, but a 70% higher glycemic index. This is one of the reasons why processing matters. Food structure may be critical for optimal health. Eating whole grains is good, but eating whole grain kernels is better. Former chair of Harvard's Nutrition Department Walter Willett has argued that the term whole grain should probably be reserved for only whole, intact grain kernels. So eat the holiest of grains, intact grains, also known as groats. A breakfast meal, including whole rye kernels, resulted in increased feelings of satiety in the afternoon compared to porridge made out of whole grain rye flour. So instead of buying boxed breakfast cereals, make oatmeal out of whole intact oats. They're groat!